Greetings and salutations. Vince Robinson here with another edition of Open Door Live. Today I have a very special guest. She's someone that I've known for quite some time here and there. I've been in Cleveland for 40 years, so that gives you plenty of time to become acquainted with the movers and shakers. And this guest is definitely one of the movers and shakers. So without any further ado, I'd like to bring into the broadcast my special guest, Vicki Dansby. Vicki, how you doing today?
Hey, Vince, I'm well. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm doing well. And I guess well is the operative word, because what brings us together is a story that I heard on Friday. It was on a friend of mine's show, Stephanie Phelps. She hosts a show called Another Look at Life. And she had you on as a guest. And as I was listening to this story unfold, I was thinking, wow, I'm in the storytelling business too. And I have to make sure that as many people as possible get to this story. So I'm actually going to help Stephanie get her broadcast podcast, but I'm also doing my part in sharing your story as well. So before we get to your story, I just want to give people a sense of who you are and what you do. So tell us who Vicki Dansby is and what she's involved in these days.
All righty. Well, I am the co-founder of Imagine That, Entertainment and Event Management. We're a full-service marketing and PR firm that specializes in strategic marketing and PR plans, projects, and events. We're located here in Cleveland and in Los Angeles. Right now, we are in the midst of a few projects. The next one coming up is the 100 Black Men Scholarship and Awards Gala on December 11th. Yes, that was a shameless plug. So that's what we're working on right now. But in addition to that, we have several others that, we're working on. We have a couple during All-Star Weekend that I really can't talk about right now. But as Vicki Dansby, aside from Imagine That, I also have another business, which I launched it was pre-COVID. It was in 2019, and that is Secret. And so with Secret, we provide clean nutrition. And when I say clean, I mean it's as clean as it gets, like vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, sugar-free, whey-free. It's very, very clean. And we also provide skincare, beauty care that's made with minerals from the Dead Sea.
All right. Well, when you bring up that whole idea of clean and vegan and all of that, you're speaking my language, and
I do.
You got my attention.
I don't think we've ever talked about that. I don't think we've ever talked about that. During COVID, I hadn't seen you, and then I didn't see you until the mural unveiling, which was in September. Mm-hmm. And that was in the midst of an event. So I really didn't get a chance to talk to you at that point in time. So no, we definitely need to have a conversation about that. I do know that's your language.
Yes. Well, I'm glad to find out about that. And I am really just chomping at the bits to get the word out about those things too, because at the heart of the conversation that we're having today is just this whole idea that there are ways that you can survive and you can thrive in the midst of all the chaos and confusion and sickness and dysfunction that exist in our society today. And one of the reasons that it does is just because our traditional systems of medicine have not fully served our interests in terms of health, in terms of changing reality. With the modern healthcare system, there's this idea that we can enable people to live with whatever they're going through. But in some of that, there's not an idea, well, we can eliminate the cause of it and allow people to live pain-free without dependence on pharmaceutical substances. So just to get to the heart of things, what I heard you talk about in that broadcast on the other day was how you were diagnosed with cancer and you recovered from it. So if you would, just tell us how it started, how you found out about it, and then what you did to address what you were going through.
Okay. Well, in January, I wasn't feeling well, right? But it was nothing that I can really put my finger on. And I woke up one day, literally out of the blue, and it was a huge lump on my breast. I don't have a family history of breast cancer at all. didn't think that it couldn't possibly be breast cancer, because from everything I've always heard, you'll have, symptoms, or you may have felt a lump at some point in time. That didn't happen. In fact, I had just had a mammogram in November. And so this was in January. So when I went to the doctor a couple days later after I felt it, she sent me over to the breast center, and everything just literally kind of happened within like a 48-hour period. And at that time, I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And stage 4 basically means that it has spread, that it's left the area that it originated. And the strand that I was diagnosed with, triple negative, which is a rare strand and a difficult strand to treat. After, I'd say maybe 48 hours later, I was in surgery, literally getting a Metaport in my chest and to begin some really aggressive chemo and immunotherapy. And so in between that 48-hour period, after doing full body scans, was when they learned that, they knew that it had left my breast area, but they didn't know at that time, like, how extensive it really was. So it was pretty much everywhere. I mean, it hadn't attached itself to any of my major organs, but my neck, my chest, my abdomen, it had just taken over my body that quickly. So the doctors kind of said that it had been there for a while, and that the type of cancer that it is, oftentimes it doesn't present itself. And when it does, it just kind of boom, here I am. I've been living in your body all this time. So I won't even say midway, immediately after diagnosis, I called, who my best friend is, who is actually an MD, but she's no longer practicing traditional medicine. She's a naturopath now. So I called her. We talked about it at length. She, of course, consulted with some other naturopaths in her area. And we together determined that, well, let me go back a little bit. I was really clear that I was not going to just do traditional. In fact, I was really considering not doing traditional treatments at all, only because of everything I had heard about it. But the things that I'd heard about it really had nothing on what it really was for me. So we opted to go with a couple different things. So there were many, many options that they gave me. A lot of which, for example, I don't know if you're familiar with coffee enemas.
Yes.
And so the coffee enemas pulls the toxins out of your system. Well, that was one of the treatments that I couldn't do because I was doing my traditional treatments are toxins. So it would have defeated the purpose for me to be able to do that portion. So there were some things with diet, environment, because that was one thing that they did say, because it wasn't genetic. It wasn't genetic. They said that it was environmental. When I asked, where did this come from, especially out of the blue, and I think I do pretty well, health-wise. I hadn't had anything else wrong with me, and I'm not one of those people that just kind of do everything that they tell you not to do. That's not me. And when they said it was environmental, then I started to look at my environment. And so I'd say a couple of days later, I get this huge care package in the mail from my friend. And it had things to replace my household items, toothpaste, deodorant, soaps. We even replaced the cleaning supplies, the laundry detergent, everything, everything that we could replace in the house. And so it led me to think about some other things, which I did change those other things. But the primary treatment, which I feel very, very strongly made all the difference in the world for me, was ozone therapy. And I was shocked when I looked into it. And I was familiar with ozone therapy. She had been telling me about it for years. She herself is a breast cancer survivor. And if you could believe this, it's the same strand, right? And so she would pretty much just, naturopath. And so I was familiar with ozone therapy, but I had never really looked into it in our area because she lives in Houston. So when I looked at it, I only found like a couple clinics locally that I, gave you that option of ozone therapy. And it was really expensive, especially considering they were recommending that I do like 4 to 5 treatments a week. And I couldn't afford that. I couldn't afford that. So we bought it. We just bought all the equipment that we needed for ozone therapy. And I, flipped my office into an ozone clinic.
I'm curious as you talk about this ozone therapy and the fact that you acquired the instruments that required to do that. If you're having conversations with folks that about things that they might be going through and perhaps offering ozone therapy as a possibility for them to facilitate their healing. And we can get back to the story, but I just want to
do that all the time.
Conversation.
I do that all the time. So like in treatment, chemotherapy was first of all, it was 10 months. It was every week. And it was intense. It was really intense. It literally, when they say that it kills like all of your cells, it did that. It broke me completely down. For months, literally, I couldn't walk from like the bedroom to the kitchen. And if I did get to the kitchen, I couldn't remember what the heck I was going to the kitchen for, because it does something to your brain too. I'd heard the term Chemo Brain before, but I never really understood it until like I couldn't drive anymore, because I would look up and be sitting in Walmart's parking lot. And it's like, why am I at Walmart? Or I'll call my husband and be like, okay, so was I getting something out of Walmart? And he's like, Walmart? No, you were going to Dave's, and it was just really, really crazy, to the point that I just couldn't drive anymore because I didn't know where I was going. Or if I did, I didn't know what I was doing there, what I was supposed to be doing there. It was rough. I had a really rough go of it within the first less than 60 days, probably about 40 days. I dropped all of 60 pounds, literally. It was frightening. It was frightening to see, for like my village, I think it was more frightening for them than it was for me, because I was always clear that I was going to come to the other side of healing. It was never a doubt in my mind. And I'm not saying that people around me doubted it, but it was hard. It was really, really, it was hard to live through. It was hard to live through. Very, very difficult. But yeah, so during the treatment though, it does a lot of different things to you. One of the things that it did to me, which is a common side effect, is neurotherapy. And I had neurotherapy really badly in my feet and my lower extremities. And so for those who may not know what it is, it's like nerve damage, for lack of a better description. And it feels like something is like inside of your body. It'll just jump in and bite you, enough to make you jump or, ouch, sometimes like a really, really ouch, because it is painful. And so I treated it with ozone. Now, mind you, my doctors had given me drugs, none of which were doing anything at all. And quite honestly, I wasn't really interested in getting something to relieve the symptoms. I wanted to get rid of the neuropathy because it was terrible. And the ozone did that for me. And so I was just recently talking to one of my friends who had some other issues, but it caused neuropathy. I literally just talked to her the other day and I was like, okay, so you coming over this week to get your treatments? So yeah, I do. To answer your question, I think I kind of went around a little bit, but yeah, I do. The people around me, if it's something that I think that ozone could benefit, which is most things, I absolutely offer it.
Well, you said a few interesting things, one of which was the effect that chemotherapy has on you in terms of breaking you down. you also said that you wanted to use coffee enemas, but there was an issue with that because the coffee enemas are going to eliminate the toxins, and the chemotherapy, in essence, is toxic, which
Right.
is really kind of mind-blowing in itself,
Yeah.
because you're going to toxify the body to facilitate healing. That doesn't really add up in my mind. Maybe you can explain the theory behind that.
It doesn't add up. So my understanding is that, yeah, it does break you all the way down, but it breaks you all the way down in order for you to be rebuilt, or in order to build your body back up, without the cancer cells. So while it may destroy like your good cells and your bad cells, when those good cells regrow, or when your cells regrow, the idea is for them to regrow void of cancer.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Well, what's interesting about that, and I guess maybe I want to rewind a little bit and just ask you, because you talked about eliminating the environmental causes that may have been a factor, and you said you got rid of, some of the chemical products, the cleaners, the things
all of them,
all of it. So, before you made that change, were you pretty clean? Or were you living without some of the toxic things that you might have been eating? Or was this something that was a tipping point that moved you into a place of eliminating all toxic things from your life?
Well, I won't say I was clean. I definitely wasn't. I never really ate fast food, so I didn't do any of that. I was very mindful about, GMOs, so I would get organic when I could, that sort of thing. But the things just around your house that you don't even consider, like I never even really considered my, dishwashing liquid. I never considered that. Now I had used, what do you call it? More of a toxin-free laundry detergent. I had done that at the time. It was kind of hard to find. Now you can find it everywhere. But I had used that, before. But there were things like nail polish and, just makeup and the glue that glues your hardwood floors on with, it was just things around your house that I never even really considered could be a toxin. But while I was aware of toxins in my area, like the large, electrical poles in my backyard or the 5G towers down the street, I was aware of those things, but I wasn't overly sensitive to them, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the process of eliminating everything, we decided to eliminate anything that we could. So as an end result, we put our home up for sale. We were, we were in the city. We were at the very beginning of Lake County, like right on the lake shore. Love the area. I love the lake, in my backyard or whatever. But we got rid of all of that. And we moved to the country in Portage County.
Yes. Well, there's something to say about that. As I've been on this journey of learning about things that are healthy and good for you, I found this thing called forest bathing.
Mm-hmm.
And they suggest that the best forest to go bathing in, so to speak, is a pine forest. Yeah. And I've also learned about the benefits of pine needle oil. So today, I'm doing red pine needle oil, and this is something that's in effect to deal with the prevalence of a thing that we're not going to mention today. But I think you know what I'm saying. And
that's what I'm saying.
And things that we have to do to protect ourselves when we've made certain choices for ourselves. I think the best defense that you can have is a strong immune system, because while we talk about the things that threaten our health in a very prevalent way today, we're actually mindful of the fact that we are under siege from so many different angles. So you talked about the toxins that are present in your home. Some of us live in houses that have vinyl siding, for instance, and the siding is toxic. And then you look at the floor, and the floor is a vinyl floor, and it's got toxic things coming out of that. And then there's the finish. Yesterday, I went to Aldi to do some grocery shopping, and I had to relieve myself. So I went to the restroom. Sister girl had just mopped the floor, and the fumes coming off the floor. When I walked out of the store, my throat was just and I was sensing that for the rest of the day. So we can use things like citrus oil, lemon, vinegar, natural things, or we can do the easy thing and go to the store and buy the chemicals, but then we deal with those chemicals. The other thought that I had as you were speaking was just about the word chemotherapy, because what you're really talking about is chemical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And the chemicals take their effect on you just like all the other chemicals that you're surrounded with and are part of your lifestyle. When you talk about lifestyle, you talk about diet. Diet is everything. It's not just what you put in your mouth, it's what you put on your skin. It's those things that are in your environment. So I applaud you for making that move to the rural area that you live in right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that I'm jealous, but what I will say is that that's a future that I would like to have for myself. Being a urban homesteader, so to speak, and living here in Glenville and dealing with the implications and the results of that. I think what you did was a noble thing. Perhaps it was in the interest of self-preservation, but I think many of us could learn from that because we get so trapped in our environment and, think about being quarantined for an entire year and staying in that toxic house and not going outside and breathing the air that you need to breathe and getting the sunshine that you need to get on your skin and the vitamin D3 and all of that. Those are just things that we need to know. When we had our conversation the other day, we talked about the implications of zip codes. And many of us who live in the inner city live in zip codes that effectively take years off of our lives because of the environmental toxins that are here and because of the absence of quality food in the places that we live. They call them food deserts. That's a term that's growing out of favor with mainstream society, but we get the implication. So you made some dietary changes to go along with the immunotherapy and the ozone therapy. Do you want to talk about some of those changes that you made and how you've been able to benefit from them?
Yeah, well, let me just go back a little bit. As you can see, I gained back every ounce I lost, plus some. They weren't trying to do all of that, but it just kind of came in the process. But the good news is that where we live, we're within less than 5 miles in either direction of active farms. So, we like, for example, for Thanksgiving, we just order a turkey. We just order a turkey, they raise him, and, they give him to us, a couple of days before Thanksgiving. With the vegetables and fruits, they're like all around us. And if we're not at a farm, if we're not going to a farm, then we go to like Whole Foods. It's a good little distance, but it's worth the drive. As well as the other closest, like farmers market, if you will, is Miles Farmers Market. It's a nice little drive, but they do have some good options there. So, in terms of the things that we eat, yeah, that's a little different. But the biggest change for real is all of the supplements that we use. Our supplements are daily, like greens, for example. None of us really eat enough vegetables. And we definitely don't eat enough organic vegetables because most of us don't have access to that as readily available as we do. But we use the greens in a powder form or in a pill form. I prefer the capsules for real because I get this block on drinking green stuff. Even though it doesn't taste bad, it's just my brain on it. No, that's green. I don't want to drink that. So, but we do a lot of that. A lot of protein shakes and, just our supplements. Like you mentioned D3, for example. So a lot of the supplements that we take, or a couple of them, does have, D in them, but we do take outside of that a D3 K2 mix organic supplement. because I recognize, especially coming into the winter, none of us ever really have, especially in the Cleveland area, we don't have enough vitamin D. That's a fact. We don't get enough sunlight for that. And the fact that most of us work all day, we really have a shortage of it because we don't have the opportunity to get out in the sunlight that we have. So things like that, and vitamin C, you know, just immuno. So we do have one in particular supplement that we take. It's called Immunex, and it's an immune booster. So in addition to the things that we take, we also use Immunex. As you pointed out, the only way I really think we're gonna get out of this, I don't want to say alive, but halfway healthy, is by protecting our immune system. Because, you know, what's out here in the atmosphere is out here in the atmosphere, and there's really not a whole lot we could do about it. You can try to run as far away from it as you can, but you still have to breathe. And with all the things that's happening in the atmosphere, whether we like it or not, some of it, a lot of it is actually still affecting our organic fruits and vegetables because it's in the atmosphere. So, you know, you have to support your host however you can. And we just kind of do whatever we can do to keep our immune system fully loaded. Now, I am still in treatment. I'm still in immunotherapy treatment through the clinic at Taussig Cancer Center. And so what the immunotherapy does is that it trains, for lack of a better term, it trains your immune system to look for cancer cells, bring them to your immune system, and destroy them. And so that's really the purpose in the immunotherapy. And I do, you know, take that twice a month still.
Can you talk about what that looks like? I mean, describe the process of immunotherapy. When you go to the clinic or the hospital, what do they actually do?
Well, I don't want to show you, it's pretty ugly, but I couldn't always kind of keep covered up. But it's intravenously. So I have a port, a metal port. It's about maybe this big up under my skin in my chest. And they attach like an IV type contraption to it, and it hangs from a bag. And it goes, and the port, you could probably see that it's connected to my jugular vein. So this is a needle in my jugular vein. And it connects to that, and we do that for like 40 minutes. Before that, you know, of course, they give you things like saline and, you know, things to help you, you know, keep from getting nauseous. But yeah, so that's it. I mean, a day, you know, you go for lab work first to make sure labs are good, and then you know, go for treatment.
Okay. And what about the ozone therapy? How does that work so that folks know?
Yeah, I wish I could flip my camera because I'm actually sitting in my office and it's in here. So what I have an oxygen generator. So let me see how to describe this. You know how you can have tanks of oxygen, how you can buy?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you really have to have a prescription for real to get tanks of oxygen, or not unless you get it industrial, like from a welding company or something. But so instead of going that route, because I didn't have a prescription for oxygen, because I don't have any respiratory issues, so we got a concentrator, an oxygen concentrator, and it makes oxygen. So you just plug it in and it makes oxygen, right? So we run a tube from there to the oxygen, or oxygen generator, if you will. And it goes into the generator and comes out as ozone.
Okay.
And so I use it in different ways. So I have a tent that I get in like a steam sauna, and run the ozone tube into the sauna tent so that it ozones you from neck down. So it's absorbed throughout your entire body. I also use it Insufflation. So insufflation is where you take like a catheter, if you will, and you insert it into your rectum, and you give yourself ozone that kind of way as well.
Okay. Well, I'm a retired insurance professional. Many may not know that about me, but I actually worked for one of America's most successful in property and casualty insurers, and we had to deal with fires that occurred in homes. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the ways that they would deal with odor is they would use ozone to do cleaning,
Right.
clean the air, clean the environment. So it occurs to me as you speak, that ozone is a very powerful thing. And then I think about how they oxygenate water.
Right.
It's the oxygen content of the water, and somehow that makes it more beneficial to you. So,
It does. I do have those too. I do have the connectors too to make the ozonated water. I use ozonated olive oil. Ozonated oils, like you get a wound, it'll clear it right up. You got a toothache, you rub it on your teeth. You can even oxygen. You can even give your teeth ozone. Just say, what am I trying to say? I can't think of the term right now. That you get a shot with. A syringe.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So you just fill the syringe up and put it like through your teeth. So it has multiple uses. It does a lot of things. It does.
Okay. Now there's another aspect. There's another part of this equation, and something that you said last Friday that really resonated with me. You said that the doctor started to give you a prognosis, and you said stop.
Right.
So there is perhaps a mental and spiritual component to someone's healing, and the fact that you were not willing to accept anything less than you being able to survive what was happening. Can you talk about the importance of your mental state as you've gone through this process?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, it was never a doubt in my mind. It was never a doubt in my mind that, that I was going to see myself getting to the other side of healing. No, I wasn't interested in his prognosis because I understand that he only knows what he knows. He only knows what he studied scientifically. But my mindset had nothing to do with science. As he pointed out to me, that it was a very rare strand of cancer that's really hard to treat. But what I said to him was that, okay, but you don't know me. I'm not interested in your prognosis. You know what you know, but you don't know me. I'm one of those people that 1 in a million things would happen to. So like I probably should be playing the lottery for real. But I am one of those people that 1 in a million things is, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen to me or for me. That's number one. Number two, you don't know what I know. You don't know who I know, and you don't know who my spiritual father is. There was never a doubt for me that my God was going to leave me at that point, in dire straits like that. There was no doubt in my mind. I didn't know, and I still don't know today, really what my purpose in being here was, but I didn't feel that it had been fulfilled. And nor did I feel that I was going to suffer behind it. And I felt like your mindset is everything. It really is. If you don't believe it, then, how can you expect I think that your body really reacts to what your belief is. So your mindset is half of the battle. If you believe that you're going to be okay, and of course you have to take steps to ensure that, but your body kind of follows suit. If you believe that, oh my God, this is killing me, I'm not gonna make it through this. I'm not gonna lie. It was days that I was like, oh God, I can't believe I'm falling asleep in the middle of a sentence. I might wake up an hour later and realize I was talking, but never realized I was even asleep, And my thought was, okay, well, we'll do better tomorrow. we'll just do better tomorrow. Not that this is going to be it, is that we're going to improve tomorrow. So I couldn't allow anything negative into my spirit. And to me, was not even to me, I already knew just based on, his words, his body language, all of that, that anything that he was going to say to me was negativity that I did not need in my mind and I didn't need it in my spirit. And I wasn't trying to hear it.
Right.
And so people ask me why I was so hesitant to talk about it. There were several reasons why I was really hesitant to talk about it. But the primary of being is that I didn't want any negative vibes. And I still don't want any negative vibes.
Well, it's like you really didn't want to give power to the possibility that it could happen. And I know that there are countless stories of people who have been told, for instance, you'll never walk again. Mm-hmm. And they end up running in races.
Right.
They've made the decision in their mind, and that's really what empowers you. Your will is what empowers you, connected to that supreme eternal force, whatever you might call it.
Right.
But that's what gives you the power to recover from anything that happens to you. I just want to make sure that folks understand that they have a role in their own healing. And you've embraced this whole idea of a holistic approach. So it's not just the things that you put on your body or in your body. It's also what you feed yourself in terms of your thought and in terms of the power of your mind to allow you to survive and to, continue on in life. You said something interesting also when you talked about your best friend, and I didn't want to leave that off the table. She went from being an allopathic doctor to being a holistic practitioner, holistic doctor. And I just happen to know a few folks who have done the same thing. One of my mentors is Dr. James Brown. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
His name's not familiar.
Dr. Brown is a gastroenterologist, and he had a practice over on Chagrin, right across the street from the cemetery, actually. But his practice over there was a holistic practice. So he made that transition from being a gastroenterologist, allopathic physician to being a natural physician. And in addition to that, he, for instance, taught me Qigong, taught me yoga, and I know that these are things that affect your physical, your spiritual, and your mental being because they're all tied together. We kind of resist those kinds of things because in certain circles, we might be told that they're evil, or in the medical system, they might say, as your physician told you, just the chemotherapy, no supplements, because he didn't know anything about that. Right. But then, that there are naturopaths who are helping people recover from cancer because they provide a remedy for it that does work.
Right.
Them continuing to be alive after they were told that they were going to die is the evidence of the efficacy of those things that they've done. So, with all due respect to your physician, he didn't know everything that he was saying. And you having this conversation with me is the evidence of that.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So this was let me go back. It's only fair. This was my first oncologist. This was the first one. We clearly didn't see eye to eye. So I did get a new one he's very well aware of what I do. And it's not so much that he's aware of what I do. He was familiar with everything that I've talked to him about from the beginning. And so each time I have my body scans, when they come back looking great, he always says to me, just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. Whereas my first oncologist would have been like, oh, no. Don't do that. Don't do that anymore, or don't do it at all. Really, that's what it was. So I'm like, oh, okay. As I go home and do ozone. Okay. Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, as you pointed out, he didn't know about it. And, I couldn't blame him because you only know what you know. But the only problem I really had with it was opening his mind to other possibilities, and he wasn't willing to do that.
Yeah, I hear you. So let's talk about some of the products you are talking about. You mentioned Immunex.
Immunex. You know what? I'm in my office. I'm a slide back here. Let me see. I know I got some back here on the shelf.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yep, I do. I can grab a few things really quick. Is however much I can get in my hands. All right. Good thing to have wheels on the chair. Immunex. Here it is. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Immunex is used to support your immune system. It is soy-free, non-GMO, no sugar added, gluten-free, no artificial ingredients, dairy-free, and vegan. And it has in it, I'm not going to read all of them probably, but all of it is organic. So I'm not going to say organic every time, but it has like elderberry, chaga mushrooms, organic olive, leaf extract, ginger, ginger root, reishi mushrooms, turmeric. So all the things that are used to support your immune system, it has. So the one thing that it doesn't have, although it does have ingredients that does the same thing vitamin C does, I still do another 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C with this. So that's Immunex. That's one of them. The greens, which is like my favorite every single morning. This is the caps. I got the powders back there. But again, they're non-GMO, gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, no sugar added or artificial ingredients, plant-based and vegan. And it has organic, I'm not going to say that every time, but barley grass juice powder, wheatgrass juice powder, oatgrass juice powder, cabbage leaf, carrot root, broccoli sprout, broccoli flower, kale leaf, and organic spinach leaf. So 2 capsules of this has all of the vitamins, all of the greens that you would ordinarily need in the course of a day. So considering I eat a lot of greens anyway, probably more than normal, when I take my greens, which is every day, that just gives me an extra boost, which also aids the immune system. Mm-hmm. So, greens also is a major part of your immune system. These two together are really all of that and then some. Probably the best thing next to mom's apple pie, and that is recovery and hydro FX. And so recovery basically helps you recover from whatever is ailing you, for real. It's best known for muscle and joint pain. And the two of them together, they oxygenize your body. So in addition to the ozone, which also oxygenizes my body, I take these two as well. And so I don't know if a lot of you know, but most diseases and cancers and other type of illnesses does not react well to a highly oxygenated area. And so when your body has an overflow of oxygen in it, it doesn't live, it doesn't survive that way. So these two together are really, really the bomb.
Okay.
Shakes, protein. One of the things that I found, even really before I was diagnosed, I never, like, my protein levels were always low, because the only way I really knew to get protein for real was like meats. And I never really, that was never really my thing. So I never really got enough protein. But when I do the shakes, which are really good, I mix them, like some people just mix it with water, but I want a little more flavor. So I mix them with fresh fruits and non-sugar added juices.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you
Level.
mentioned something that's really key in terms of those who choose to go without meat, because I know, at least from the research that I've done on it, that too much protein is also an issue.
Right.
And when people consume too much protein, it leads to inflammation of various parts of your body, so forth. It also results in clogging of the arteries, which causes issues. So I think it's important that folks know that just like you can have too little, you can have too much. The
Right.
other thing is that overconsumption of protein through the consumption of meats, uh, the body has to process that,
Right.
and that takes its toll on you as well. So it's good to have the correct amount of protein in your system.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you can find out how much you actually need, just like you can find out how much vitamin D you need. I heard something just the other day that most people are vitamin D deficient and they don't know it.
Exactly. They are.
So they suggest that you go ahead and get tested and find out, and then you can get a prescription so that you get the correct amount of D3 in addition to what you do naturally to support it, i.e., be outside during a certain part of the day when it's most beneficial,
Right.
and other things that you can do to support that. Yes.
Right, right. So that's very true. Like I will say, since I've been using my shakes, my protein is never low now. So they take blood like every 2 weeks, and protein is one of the things that they check every 2 weeks, especially because for a while I wasn't just protein deficient. They had declared me malnutrition. I guess because I went a period of time where I couldn't eat. So I wasn't really getting anything. And this was before I started the supplements. But once I started the supplements, and it kind of triggered my appetite some. So it did help me eat. And so I said that to say that the things that you talked about, they check me every 2 weeks. Most people don't get, tested for it regularly, but I do. And I saw the flip in my protein. I saw a flip in a lot of my labs, honestly. And it was sitting right here on my desk. That was the only thing that I was doing different.
Well, just sitting here and having this face-to-face with you, it seems that you're very vibrant. It seems that you have high levels of energy. And, in light of all that you've gone through to be in the state that you are, it's really, it's a beautiful testimony to the power of your will, also to what you are willing to do to preserve yourself. I mean, selling your house and moving to the country, that's not a small thing.
It's not. And when I told people that we were doing it, they were like, what? Are you kidding me? Do you know how far that is? I mean, can you, what about downtown? And I'm like, okay, what about downtown? I'll come in the city, once a week, maybe twice a week. It's not a big deal. Yeah. It's really not a big deal. And in other states, it's really not that far. So like if we were in California, for example, or even Texas, it wouldn't be that long of a drive because they're accustomed to driving that far to go somewhere anyway. Mm-hmm. So, it's just not a big deal for me. But what was a big deal was that I get out of the environment that I was in to a slower way of life, a more relaxed way of life. Like I'm nowhere near stressed out as I used to be, not anywhere near as stressed out, And what was also important was that because this could really lead to a whole nother conversation, and I'm not trying to go there. But what I will say is that we wanted to make sure that we could be self-sufficient if we needed to.
Yes. And that is an important thing to talk about now, because we're looking at food shortages. Mm-hmm. As you have boats lined up at ports on both sides of the country with products that can't get to people. We're going into grocery stores where they're telling us, oh, you can only get 2 of this or 2 of that, and There may be some strategic reasons that those things are happening, but bottom line is when they happen, we have to be prepared for them.
Right.
This past Saturday, I did a show with Brother Wayne Chandler, who has a book called Ancient Future. And he read something that dealt with the normalcy bias. And he's just basically saying that 70% of people, when warned that something is impending, will actually ignore the warnings because they're stuck in what they perceive as what is normal. I think it's safe to say that what we used to think about as normal does not exist anymore.
It does. And I think people think it's not possible. So, we've been warned in more ways than one. And so many of us just like, oh, that'll never happen. I remember people telling me that at the height of COVID, oh no, they'll never stop NFL or NBA. Do you know how much money that is? And I'm like, yep, but that's what they're going to do because it's a means to an end. And, I mean, that's another conversation. But yeah, we saw that happening. But just like the things that we see the signs, we hear them verbally. So, in some cases, it's not even being hidden from us. But we won't accept it for what it is. It's like, oh, no, that'll never happen. No, that's impossible. Yeah. Well, yeah, okay.
Well, the other thing that I was just thinking about was the fact that you might be so far away from the city, so to speak. But, we're living in a largely virtual world now anyway.
Right.
I mean, we used to go to meetings all the time. Now you just open up an email and click on the Zoom link and you're in the meeting.
Right.
So you don't have to travel. And I think what they intend to do is cut down as much as they can on people moving here and there so that you are literally, I don't want to say a prisoner in your home, but you essentially are if you're not going anywhere. So the fact that you're out there in the country and you can walk outside your door and you don't have a neighbor that's 10 feet away from you on either side, there's a certain level of peace in that. I live in Glenville and I live literally around the corner from the fire station. So it's like a nightly ritual. If I go to bed at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm hearing sirens. It's like every night I go to sleep with the sounds of sirens. And if it's not that, it's somebody driving down the street with bass booming from their vehicle so loud that it rattles the metal on their vehicle and it rattles the metal in my windows. And, so to be away from all that chaos and confusion, I trade places with you in a heartbeat.
Oh, it's so completely peaceful. We want noise. We got to make our own. Really, because we don't. I've heard sirens over here. Like literally one time, a neighbor's home was burning, and it was really a sad story because we didn't have like a fire department for real. The house did burn to the ground by the time fire trucks got from, I guess they came from Chagrin Falls. And some came from Chagrin Falls, and I think some came from like Warren. By the time they got here, they were waiting on a truck that actually had water because it's no fire hydrants. It's not, I mean, they can, at the corner is the lake where people come from. I was talking to one of my friends that said, oh, my dad used to drive us out there every summer to go fishing. Wait a minute, out there? And I'm like, yeah, it's at the corner of the street. And so, so they had looked at like siphoning water up out of the lake. By the time they did all of that, the house was like gone. It was pretty much burnt to the ground by then. So that is the downside to that.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't have like your regular safety forces, but yeah, you'd be really hard pressed to hear a siren out here.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So before we end the conversation, I would like to give you an opportunity to tell us about the products that you're involved in case anybody out there who is viewing this or may see this in the future is interested in them. We had a conversation the other day, and I think you may have indicated that you might be a distributor. We're not we're not bound by the FCC rules. So
Yeah.
if you want to get a commercial in, please feel free.
I will. So I am an agent for Secret, where we help people feel better and look better and have better experiences, better life experiences. We're best known for our skincare and body care, which is made with minerals from the Dead Sea. However, we're really gaining a lot of ground on our very clean nutrition. You can find it a couple ways. There's a link in my bio on my Facebook page, which is Abundant Lifestyles, or you could go to Secret Direct. That's secret, like the Dead Sea, is SEACRET, secretdirect.com/abundant lifestyles. And there you'll find like all of our nutritional supplements. You'll find all of our skincare and beauty care. You'll also find some great wholesale travel deals too, so that you can have an amazing travel experience.
Okay. All right. And is there an affiliate marketing aspect to that?
An affiliate marketing aspect, like, are we partnered with anyone? Is that what you're asking me? Or
Well, no, I'm involved in a few different platforms that use affiliate marketing. So, if you are a distributor and you connect others with the opportunity, the way it works, and I'm just talking about multi-level marketing or direct sales.
Oh yeah, there is a direct sales component to that.
Yeah. So
yeah. I have to say, most of my people are customers, and they are literally repeat customers, because we do have like our supplements and things on auto ship, like Amazon auto ship. And so they are very, very regular customers. But yeah, there is an opportunity for others to become agents if they choose to.
If they choose to, but if they're just interested in getting the products, they can sign up, they can get the auto ship. They're going to be using them on a regular basis anyway.
Exactly. But that's what happens. Once they use it, like they get a 30-day supply, then they're coming back saying, okay, I need some more greens, or I need some more booster, which I didn't talk about, which is my favorite one.
Talk about it. We got time.
The booster, do I have one in here? Nope, I don't. It's in the kitchen, because I just took it just a little bit ago. But the booster, it gets rid of all of the excess acid in your body. And it works very well with the recovery and the hydro to alkalinize your body. So, people who suffer with like acid reflux, this would be your best friend. People who, like, I know the youngsters use it a lot. They call it the Hangover Remedy. Because, whenever they go and drink and do whatever it is they do, they take the booster. And then in the morning, it's like they don't even know that they drank last night, right? But what I like it for, in addition to it removing that acid, because I did have a really huge issue with acid reflux. And I was on 2 different pills for that. I started booster. I haven't taken a prescription pill for almost a year from using booster. And that's real talk. I haven't taken any, haven't had the need for it. But also it helps you sleep. So if you're one of those people who don't sleep well, someone who goes to sleep, but their mind is consistently racing, they're never really asleep, the booster helps with that. It aids with that. Like, I used to be like that. I couldn't sleep. Like, I would be asleep, but I was never really asleep. So then I'd wake up tired. But with the booster, I wake up like, hey, it's a brand new day. Let's go. And I noticed that when I'm asleep, I'm just asleep. Like, there's nothing in between. Like, I'm sleeping, then I wake up. And I used to wake up like multiple times during the night. I don't do that anymore with the booster. So I love that. But really, we do have some, and I've used a lot of supplements in my life. Don't get me wrong. This is not my first rodeo. I've used a ton of supplements, and I've used a ton of skincare too in my life. And that's what made me want to become an agent, because I'd never really experienced anything that not only responded to my body this well, but responded to so many other bodies, as well, especially like the skincare, because it's a majority company. I should say. It's not a lot of people who look like me that are agents. And so my natural thought was that maybe it doesn't work on African American skin, or the hair products doesn't work on African American hair. It could have been further from the truth. I mean, it has really, it has exceeded every expectation that I had. So you should check me out.
Well, I'll check you out, but I want you to let folks know how they can connect with you so that they can take advantage of what you have to offer.
Okay, wonderful. You can join my Facebook page. Follow us on Abundant Lifestyles on Facebook, or you can visit my website, and that's at Secret. That's SEACRET, Secret with an A, direct.com/abundant lifestyles.
So it's Secret
Direct, secretdirect.com.
Okay.
/abundant lifestyles.
And that's all one word.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think I may have just posted that.
Can I type it in?
Yeah.
Okay.
You would put it in the chat, I guess.
Uh-huh.
There's a private chat, and then there's comments. Let's see. Somebody was watching us at 4:47, and they said, great info, Vince Robinson and Vicki Dansby.
Okay, great. Here, let me see. I put it in private, so I just copied it, and I'm going to drop it in. It won't let me drop in comments.
Yeah, drop it in the comments. I'll make sure that it shows up on the Facebook page, and if you want to send me an email with everything that you want to let folks know about, I can also attach that to the YouTube description that will come up when this broadcast ends.
Okay, absolutely. It won't let me do comments, so I'm just
yeah. Well, again, you can send it to me, and I'll just add it after the fact.
I will. Thank you so much, Vince. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. You know, this hour has flown by. You know, I didn't know how long this conversation was going to last, but I just knew that there were certain things that needed to be expressed. So anyone who watches this broadcast, they can walk away knowing that no matter what their situation is, there's always hope. You don't have to accept a negative prognosis from a doctor and see it as a life-ending situation. I know someone who's very close to me. Their mother was told that she had weeks to live, and it's been a year, and she's still with us. You know, so you can't always believe what the white coats tell you. And in your situation, you decided that you needed to talk to somebody else, and thank goodness that you did, because you're a living testimony. And I applaud you for that. I applaud you for having the courage to have this conversation publicly and let everyone know, you know, what's going on. And, you know, again, living proof. There's nothing like the real thing.
It's not. It's the biggest testimony you can possibly have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. But I do just want to say one other thing for people to understand that, you know, while their doctors are very smart and they have, you know, spent a lot of years of their lives in learning, they're practicing. They're practicing medicine. They don't always know the answer. And what they say is not always the end result. And you, as a patient, is responsible for your own health. So never just let them dictate to you. They need to explain to you, and then you need to in turn research what they said. So I'll just leave that right there.
Yes, and hopefully folks were listening and got that message, because it's an extremely important thing for us to know, to learn, and to grow. Vicki Dansby, thank you so much for joining us on Open Door Live. I look forward to our next conversation. It doesn't have to end here. You know, more than likely, I'm going to end up getting some of those products. I'll try them, see how they work. They work for me. You know, I'm going to tell it.
I know. That's where I was, Vince. That's how I became an agent, for real. I was like, okay, I'm sold.
Yep. And
So,
the fact that you have folks coming back to you as customers, maybe not interested in the business, but they're coming back as customers, they wouldn't be continuing to pay for something that's not working.
exactly, repeatedly.
Yeah.
Repeatedly. You're right. They wouldn't. And
Absolutely.
they'll seek me out for it too.
Yes. All
They
right.
will. If they lose the link, they'll call me.
Okay. All right. Well,
All right.
thanks again for joining me, and we'll look forward to our next conversation. Peace, blessings, and prosperity to you.
Thanks for having me, Vince. I appreciate it.
All right.
Okay.
And thank you for joining me on Open Door again. Absolutely a pleasure to come before you and bring the folks that I bring to you. It's all in the interest of edification and information and all those good things, because those are the things that we require to have success in life. Hopefully you will have success in yours too. Know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, and do everything that you can to make today your very best day. Peace.